To begin this sequence, make your way onto your back with your feet on the floor, knees bent. Arms can rest on the mat away from your body, somewhere comfortable. You can walk, there's two ways of beginning here. You can walk your feet as wide as the mat and then just gently let your knees come together, supporting each other. If this is most comfortable for you today, just hang out here for a couple of minutes. Alternatively, if you'd like to have a gentle hip opener, walk the soles of your feet together and then let your knees open wide. Just be aware of how this feels on your body, your spine. It might be a welcome release. Might feel challenging but good. But if it pinches or hurts in any way at all, just bring your knees together with your feet a little wider than your hips. Settle in and breathe. In today's practice, I invite you to set an intention for your practice. As you lay here in stillness, just pause and see where your mind goes. Set an intention that will support your practice. It might mean maybe your intention is to focus on your breath. Maybe it's inviting your mind to be a little more still, less chatter. Maybe your intention today is to practice without judgment, practice with kindness, compassion. Or it might be something completely different. Just notice where your mind goes and set an intention, something that supports your practice today. And when you've set the intention, repeat it back to yourself silently 3 times. Yin Yoga is all about staying in each of the poses for a little longer. And without forcing, you're inviting your body to soften into the poses, to release a little bit more. It can sometimes feel challenging, but try to just let your body passively open, just even a millimeter more. By staying in the poses longer, it allows the fascia, the soft tissue that runs throughout our body, to release and open just a touch more. So stay here for a few more breaths in whatever version of this pose you're in. If your knees are wide, visualize your knees getting heavy and opening up just a touch more. And then if your knees are wide, slowly bring your knees together. And if your feet are wide, walk your feet together. And just gently, softly hug your knees to your chest. Maybe you stay still here, letting the mat support your spine completely flat on the floor. Or maybe today it feels better to rock your knees side to side. And then let your knees go wide away from each other and bring the soles of your feet together. If your hands are along your knees, slide your hands down your shins, maybe grabbing the outside of your shins, or maybe the outside of your feet as you bring the soles of your feet together, and let your knees push away from each other. Notice your spine on the mat here. Let your whole spine be flat on the mat. Maybe pushing your low back into the mat, or just keeping it softly resting there with your hips on the mat. At any time throughout the practice, you're welcome to close your eyes or keep them open. Always honor what you need throughout the practice. A few more breaths. And gently release your feet, lower your feet to the mat, and come on up to a seated position. For this next pose, if you are using blocks and your hips are feeling tight, you're welcome to sit on a block. Otherwise, just sit right on the mat. Bring the soles of your feet together and let your knees open wide. Excuse me. You might start with your hands on the mat behind you and have your legs more in a diamond shape so your heels are not close to your sit bones. Your knees are maybe halfway between your heels and your sit bones. So you might start with your hands behind you, and then with your hands just gently soften your torso forward. Or maybe today you can reach forward and grab your ankles. And just naturally let your chest come forward. There's a couple of ways of doing this. One way is to think shoulders back. You're just hinging at the hips and softly coming forward. Another way to do this is to let your back round, let your head lower towards the mat. Try each of these versions of this pose. What resonates best with your body? And come into that version today. By rounding your back, the weight of your head lets your shoulders lower, but your shoulders are rounded. By keeping the spine straight, think chest forward. This gets more into the low back. Concentrates more on the low back. And if your elbows are anywhere near your knees, just gently rest your elbows on your knees and let the weight of your elbows encourage your knees to open without forcing. Notice if after a few breaths, your body just subtly releases a little bit more into the pose. That's the fascia, the soft tissue, welcoming the stretch, the release. It's your body opening just a touch more. We'll be here for 4 or 5 more breaths. And then gently come on back up. Bring your right foot out to the right, both knees are still bent. And adjust your left leg, so your left knee is at a 90-degree angle. Your thigh and shin are at a 90-degree angle of each other. And then flex that left foot. Now bring the right knee to, it can just touch or almost touch the left heel. Both legs are bent, and now bring the right foot out so the right leg is also a 90-degree angle, right foot flexed. And now walk your hands to the left behind you. Maybe on this side this is enough, just keeping your hands on the mat. You're welcome to stay right here. Or if it's available to you, come onto your forearms and let your head dangle. Just breathe here. You might twist a little more to the left after a few breaths. We'll be here for a couple of minutes. Just remind yourself of the intention you set in today's practice and honor that. Think softening, letting go, release. Be here for 4 or 5 more breaths. Can you let go just a little bit more? And then slowly take your time lifting back up out of the pose and making your way back to center. Lift your knees up, coming back to center. Your feet can stay roughly where they are. And then let your knees roll to the right. Adjusting your right leg so your right knee is at a 90-degree angle, right foot flexed. Left knee touches almost the right heel, and then adjust the left foot so the left leg is at a 90-degree angle, foot flexed. And then walk your hands to the right, just gently twisting to the right. Maybe here you stay on your hands, or option to lower onto your forearms. Maybe your head reaches the mat. Maybe you stack your fists and rest your forehead on your fists. And simply breathe. Think letting go. Maybe after a few minutes, you notice you can release a little deeper. Maybe your head lowers. Maybe your body softens wherever it's feeling tension. Just notice wherever you're holding on to tension. Breathe into that area and invite that tension to dissolve, release. Think letting go. Maybe 4 or 5 more breaths. Then slowly place your hands on the mat. Make your way back to center. And now straighten both legs out in a big V shape. And on this pose, if it's more comfortable for you, you can sit on a block. If you need to, you can have your knees slightly bent to begin, but work towards straightening them. Reach under each thigh and internally rotate. So draw the muscles out. It's as if you're trying to widen your sit bones. Maybe you start with your hands on the mat behind you. This might be the most comfortable to begin, and with your hands, work on sending your chest and torso forward. Or maybe today you can place your hands in front of you and then just lean forward. Again, think of letting go, softening into the pose, releasing. Without forcing, go as far as you can within your body. See where your body says that's enough, and then just hang out there. And invite it to soften a little bit more after a few breaths. Noticing your breath, let your body deepen into the pose as you exhale. Think of releasing that tension, letting go. Reflect on the intention you set for the practice today. See how it can support this pose. Be here for just a couple more breaths. And then gently make your way back up. Keeping the left leg straight, bring the right foot to the left inner thigh. If you want to protect your low back, keep that right foot closer to the knee, just giving your low back some space. Otherwise, you can bring that right foot in closer to your sit bones. Aiming to have the left leg straight, left foot flexed. Walk your hands forward, leaning your body in the direction of your left foot. There's a micro twist to the left here. You might drape the right hand to the outside of the left leg. If this is too much and really uncomfortable, you can also just start with your hands on the mat behind you. But go as deep into the pose as you can. And when you reach that point, when your body says stop, just hang out there. And see if you can soften a little deeper after several breaths. It's as if you're patiently waiting for your body to say, okay, it'll release a little bit more now. And just 4 or 5 more breaths. Slowly come on back up. And now straighten your right leg. Bring the sole of your left foot to your right inner thigh, either closer to your knee to protect your low back, or bring that heel closer to your sit bones. And then gently twist to the right. Maybe on this side you just start with your hands on the mat behind you. And then with your hands, invite your hips forward over the direction of your right leg. Maybe on this side you walk your hands forward. Option to drape the left arm over the right leg and just hang out here. Go as far as you can and then just hang out there, inviting your body to deepen just a little bit more. See what your breath is doing. Can you release a little bit more into the pose? Just a few more breaths. And then very gently, slowly, make your way back up. And straighten both legs. For this next pose, if you prefer, you could sit on a block. If you don't have a block and this is really uncomfortable, just lean back with your hands on the mat behind you, and then with your hands push your chest forward. If it's available to you, keep walking your hands forward and leaning forward. Think of folding forward over your legs. And then just hang out here. We'll just be here for a couple of minutes. Think softening forward. You might notice some tightness in your low back, maybe your shoulders, might be your hamstrings. Your body will tell you where it's feeling tight. Just breathe into that area. Invite it to soften. come back to your intention you set for the practice. Let it support you in this pose. Just a couple more breaths. And slowly make your way back up. Just bend your knees and make your way onto all fours. Place the tops of the feet on the mat. And slowly lower your hips over your heels. You might like to stretch your arms forward today and let your forehead rest on the mat. Or maybe you cross your arms, resting your forehead on your forearms. Or make fists with your hands, stack your fists, and rest your forehead on your fists. See what resonates for you today. Let your hips feel heavy over your heels. Few more breaths. And gently place each hand on the mat. Lift your hips up over your knees. And keeping your hips directly above your knees, walk your hands forward, or you can walk your knees back if you're at the front of your mat. The toes can be tucked or tops of the feet on the mat. But what you want to do is keep those hips above the knees and stretch your arms forward. And then softly let your hips lower towards the mat. Maybe your forehead reaches the mat. Or if you're using blocks, if you have a block, you might prefer to rest your forehead on a block or a cushion. Just think about letting your heart open. This is a heart-opening pose. Think of letting go as if your chest could reach the floor. A few more breaths here. And then pressing your hands into the mat, slowly lift your head up and walk your hands back. Tuck your toes, walk your feet forward, and come onto your feet, bending your knees as much as you need to fold forward. In Yin, we call this dangling pose. You might let your hands dangle. They may reach the mat, or you can place them on blocks. Knees can be slightly bent, or bent as much as you need to. And then once you're in the pose, think of lifting your hips up a little higher, and then folding a little deeper.
If you'd like a little stretch on the backs of your legs, your calves, or your hamstrings, play with straightening one leg and then the other. Or maybe today you straighten both together, or neither. Really see what your body needs, what it can do. Think of letting go. And now keep both hands, place both hands on the mat or on blocks if you're using them. Walking to the front of your mat, step your right foot back as far as you can go. And then gently lower that right knee to the mat. If you need extra padding for that right knee, take the outside of your mat and just double it up. And just soften the hips forward. Think letting go, releasing, letting your intention you set for the practice support even this pose. Can you let the hips go forward just a little bit more? Now bring both hands to the inside of the left foot. So it's like this. And now bend your elbows and lower your shoulders towards the mat. Hug that left knee to the left shoulder. Maybe press it right into the shoulder. Maybe you stay here, or maybe your forearms come onto the mat. Or if you have a block, maybe onto the block. Press the big toe of the left foot firmly into the mat. And breathe. Can your hips come forward and down anymore? Hugging that left knee to the left shoulder. Here for just a few more breaths. And then place your hands back on the mat. Lift the toes up of the left foot. So from the front, it looks like this. Lift the toes up, turn the toes out, let the knee roll out, and roll onto the outside, the baby toe side of that left foot. And then bend your elbows, maybe lowering, maybe you just keep your elbows bent here, or maybe you come onto your forearms, or you can place your forearms on a block. Be here for 7 or 8 breaths. Try to let your body deepen and soften. Then place your hands back on the mat and bring that foot back onto the mat. And bring your left knee to beside your right. Come onto the tops of the feet and gently lower your hips over your heels, resting in child's pose for a few breaths. Notice how your left side feels compared to your right. Then place both hands back on the mat, lift up through tabletop, and step your right foot forward to the very front of the mat. Each hand Right hand on the outside of the right foot, left hand on the inside. Left toes can be tucked or top of the foot on the mat. You can also use blocks here if you prefer. And breathe, just softening the hips forward. Think letting go. As you soften your hips forward, can you relax your shoulders, your jaw, your cheeks? Just a couple more breaths. Then bring both hands to the inside of that right foot. Pressing the big toe into the mat. Bend your elbows, lowering your shoulders towards the mat. Maybe here you place your forearms on a block. Or maybe your forearms reach the mat, but don't let that knee come out yet. Bring that right knee close to the right shoulder. Press into the big toe mound. Breathe here. Think of softening, releasing. Letting go. Couple more breaths. Keep hugging that right knee to the right shoulder. And then slowly make your way back up onto your hands. And now lift the toes up of the right foot, so you're just on the heel. Turn the foot out, let the knee roll out, roll onto the baby toe side of that foot. And then send your hips forward with the knee out. Maybe here you keep your arms straight, or maybe you bend your elbows. Perhaps you bring your forearms onto a block or the mat. And breathe. Really try to soften into the pose. Can you release? Can your body open a little bit more? Be here for 6 or 7 more breaths. And slowly place your hands back on the mat. Bring the foot back to the mat. Bring that right knee to beside the left. Come onto the tops of the feet and gently lower your hips over your heels just for a few breaths to release and let go in child's pose. And then bring your hips up over your knees. Come on to a seated position. And straighten your left leg out front. Cross your right foot over your left. Now with your left hand, pull that right foot back as close to your left hip as you can. And then with your right hand, lower that right knee, ideally over top of the left. If you have blocks and you're using them, if it's more comfortable, you can sit on a block here. And with your hands on the mat behind you,
Think of sending your chest forward. We'll be here for a couple of minutes in Ardha Gomukhasana. Just keep that right foot flexed. That protects your knee. If you're not feeling anything in this pose, bend the left leg, the straight leg, and bring the left foot over beside the right hip. This is full Gomukhasana. Either of these versions, it's right for you. Breathe. Think of letting go. Maybe coming forward, or just keep your hands on the mat behind you. Think of softening your shoulders, your back, your jaw. Try to relax. Breathe. A few more breaths. Can you let your body soften a little deeper? Couple more breaths. Just place your hands on the mat behind you and uncross your legs, letting them slowly straighten, maybe windshield wiper your feet side to side. And now keep the right leg straight, bend the left leg, left foot on the mat, cross the left foot over the right. With your right hand, pull that right heel as far back, as close to that right hip as you can. Bring that, left heel back to the right hip. And then with your hands, with your left hand, lower that left knee to the mat. Keep that right foot flexed. Keep the left foot flexed. Getting my lefts and rights mixed up. Foot of the bent knee flexed. Maybe start with your hands on the mat behind you and just stay here in Ardha Gomukhasana. If you feel like you can go deeper, bend the right leg, the straight leg, and bring that right heel close to the left hip. Maybe that one side is more attainable than the other today. But if the knees are bent, keep the foot of the bent knee flexed. Maybe you start with your hands behind you. Just try to stay in the pose. It may get harder and less comfortable as your body slowly opens. Breathe, soften. Relaxing your jaw, your upper back, your shoulders. Can you let go a little bit more? Just a couple more breaths. And slowly place your hands on the mat behind you. Slowly uncross your legs. And when you're ready, straighten your legs and just windshield wiper your feet side to side. Maybe flexing those toes towards you for a little stretch on the calves. And then bend your knees. Actually, sorry, bend your left leg. Keep the right leg straight. Lift the left foot up. Left foot stays flexed. Place the left ankle on the right thigh above the knee. Hands start behind you. And with your hands, push your chest forward. Maybe this is enough today. If you want to go deeper, bend the right leg and bring that right foot onto the mat. Push that left knee away from you. And if you want to go deeper still, bring that right foot even closer to your right hip. Push that left knee forward away from you. Breathe. And with your hands, try to send your chest forward. Can you release a little bit more? Here for just a few more breaths. And straighten your right leg, uncross your left, and now place your right foot on the mat, bending the right knee. Keeping that right foot flexed, lift that foot up, right ankle on the left thigh above the knee. Maybe you start with your hands on the mat behind you here, and then send your chest forward. Maybe this is enough on this side. Or bend the left leg, left foot on the mat, still sending your chest forward, keeping that right foot flexed. Maybe bringing that left foot even closer to your left sit bone. Push that right knee away from you. Again, just breathe into the stretch. Think letting go. Release. And slowly straighten the left leg and place the right foot on the mat to the outside of the left leg. With your right hand, reach it up and reach over and grab the ankle or the arch of the right foot. Lengthen your spine as you inhale. As you exhale, reach your left arm out to the left and place it on the mat behind you. This is a simple twist. And breathe. As you inhale, let your spine lengthen a little bit as you release the twist ever so slightly. And as you exhale, invite your body to twist and deepen into the pose. Just gently, passively encourage. And slowly make your way back to center. Straighten your right leg.
And bend your left leg, left foot on the mat, left knee bent. Cross that left foot over your right, and then reach your left arm up and over, grabbing the inside of your left ankle or maybe the arch of your foot. Lengthen your spine, sit nice and straight and tall as you inhale. As you exhale, reach your right arm out to the side and place it on the mat behind you as you gently twist to the right. And just a couple more breaths. Come on back to center. Uncross your legs, place both feet on the mat, and slowly roll onto your spine. And softly hug your knees to your chest. Maybe you want to stay fully still here. Or perhaps it feels just right to rock your knees side to side. And then come back to center. Continue to hug your right knee to your chest and lower your left foot to the mat. If you'd like a deeper stretch, maybe straighten that left leg. It's a gentle, passive stretch that hopefully feels good. And then hug your left knee to your chest, lowering your right foot to the mat, or possibly straightening that right leg. And then lower both feet to the mat, knees bent. Place your arms on the mat away from your body. Slide your hips to the right and bring your feet and knees together. Let your knees gently roll to the left. See if your body prefers your gaze looking over your left arm or maybe your right arm. And if you want a deeper twist, take your left leg, your lower leg, and cross it over your right for a slightly deeper twist. We'll be here for 5 or 6 breaths. Let it be soft, gentle, encouraging. And bring your legs and gaze back to center. Slide your hips to the left, bringing your feet and knees together. And gently let your knees roll to the right. Gaze either looking over your right arm or your left. Maybe on this side you cross your right leg, your lower leg, and cross it on top of your left. Eyes can be open or closed. Relax. Let go. And slowly make your way back to center. And gently straighten one leg and then the other. Reach your arms up over your head. Maybe you flex your feet and stretch your arms and legs. Give your whole body a nice big stretch. Maybe you point your toes, whatever feels best. And then release that stretch. Softly place your arms on the mat a few inches away from your body. Let your feet be slightly wider than the hips, or adjust them so they're fully comfortable. Take a few breaths here to settle in. Just reflect on your intention, how it supported your practice, and then release it. Let both your mind and body be fully still and rest in Shavasana. Softly deepen your breath. Gently move your fingers, toes, stretching your arms and legs. Maybe stretching your arms up over your head for a full body stretch. And softly hug your knees to your chest. Slowly, in your own time, roll over to your right side. Pausing here before you make your way up to a comfortable seated position. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.